Welcome to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo, Dr. Shirley and medium Kelly White. Two perspectives, one world. This is Both Sides Now.
For Both Sides Now, I'm Dr. Shirley.
And hi, everybody. I'm spiritual medium Kelly White. Hi, John. And John Williams is here. Hi, John.
Well, hello. Happy birthday, Kelly.
Yes, Kelly's birthday was yesterday.
First of all, oh, so sweet. I'm going to
So
blow
great.
them all out. That's what I'm going to do right now.
Only I could put
wonderful.
them behind you so you could blow them out, but it only
my
lets
God.
you put it in front.
Well, I really want to say thank you to everybody. Everybody that gave me such nice birthday wishes and birthday messages. And it was so nice. Thank you so much, everybody. Really
Love
meant
it.
a lot to me because, these birthdays now are different.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
different in the time birthdays in the time of COVID. It's different.
We all
Yeah,
get a
very
redo, by the way. Anybody who had a birthday this year gets
Yeah.
a redo because
Well,
Yeah.
it's so
birthday next year.
it's so funny. Last year, Shirley took me to see Earth, Wind, and Fire at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah,
Remember
was
that,
so
Cheryl?
fun.
That
Oh
was
my
so
God, how can I
fun.
forget? That was so fun.
And I used to tell everybody that my birthday was September 21st because of the song September. Do you remember the 21st night of September? So then my wonderful daughter had a baby on September 21st. So happy birthday, baby Lulu.
Oh,
Gigi
Lulu's
loves
birthday
you. It's
today.
Lily's.
Wow,
It's
that's
cute.
exciting.
It's that the cutest thing ever. So
Yeah.
I had a great day, and it turns out that we had a play date. Our dog Otis had a play date with his new girlfriend Charlotte, and it looks like Charlotte may possibly be living with us permanently. Ooh, please God. So
Wow.
I hope.
Charlotte's. I
That's
hope so too.
awesome.
It was great. It was a really magical day.
Seemed to get along so well, though. You showed
Oh
me the
yeah,
video
Otis was a
there.
hoot. Otis was a hoot. It was like, Otis, I'm going to take your bone. Okay, Charlotte. Otis, I'm going to sleep in your bed. Okay, Charlotte. I mean, I've never seen anything like it before.
And he's not like that at all.
No, but the greatest thing of all, and Otis has never taken a treat from me in a year and 3 months. It's a long time that a dog
Yeah.
would not take a treat.
Yeah.
And he took a treat from me yesterday with Charlotte there. So it was
Yeah.
really, really moving
He's
to me.
softening his heart, just
Oh my!
like women do.
I swear he's lovesick. It's the sweetest thing.
That is so funny. How lovely. Well, listen, I said it before and I'll say it again. My world is better with you in it. And I'm sure a lot of people would
Oh, yeah.
concur.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much, Shirley.
Yeah.
My world is better with all of you in it, with you in it, and you in it, John,
Aw.
and everybody's in it. And I couldn't be happier. And I can't wait to talk about our guest. We have the greatest guest tonight.
Yes, we have a
So
wonderful guest.
excited.
But before we go there, how about the clusterfuck we're living in? How about an update there?
Okay, so tomorrow, it's been, first of all, Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh my, broke my heart.
Broke my heart, actually.
The
I think I heard
weird
a
thing
crack.
Yeah, me too. The weird thing is that about 2 weeks ago, for some reason, spontaneously, I wasn't even thinking about it, her name came up in my head, and I thought, what happens if she passes before the elections? I don't know why I had that thought, but it just showed up. I think you're growing on me, Kelly.
I think you're very intuitive,
And unfortunately, it was a killer.
But I have been saying all along, astrologically, we're going to have some big shocks, some surprises. It's going to be intense. So tomorrow is the fall equinox is tomorrow. This is a big day in Libra if I go by Western astrology. It is in Libra. It's Libra season. And Libra season means to have balance. So we may be way out of balance. And with everything that's going on in the world right now with COVID, we're already out of balance with all kinds of things. And so you may feel very uncomfortable for a period of time because Libra tries to get us into a balance. So your actions will impact everything. Your thoughts will impact everything because it's going to try to get us to balance. The interesting thing about this equinox is the veil gets thinner. So that means it may be easier to reach the other side, and particularly at the end of October. But right now it begins that process of a thinner veil. Interesting enough.
Is that in every winter equinox or just this time?
Fall.
fall? I'm
No,
sorry.
it's every time.
Okay.
It's every time. I think it's
hence
thinner
Halloween,
now.
right?
Yeah, but I
You
think
always
it's
talk about it that it happens during Halloween too.
right. I do, but it's actually thinner now, just in general, because of everything that's going on. I really believe that it's thinner. I think that
Oh,
souls on the
yeah.
other side really know that we're here. I mean, of course, they know we're here. They want to be with us. They want to participate with us. It's want to help us. They want to, you know,
Yeah.
keep us company for so many people that are alone, particularly, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on
That's
September
amazing.
23rd, Mercury squares Saturn.
Feels like
That's
it's
not a
happening
good.
already.
Yes, this is not a good thing. In
Oh,
Libra, Mercury in Libra squares Saturn and Capricorn. This is not good. This is going to cause a lot of misunderstanding,
mm.
a lot of frustration, and a lot of arguments. That's September 23rd. So tomorrow's the equinox. The 23rd is very rough. And the 24th, Mercury opposes Mars. Really not good. So these 23rd and 24th suck.
Oh,
Very difficult, but not as difficult as, and I know I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer, but I'm going to say this: September 29th is a powerhouse day. It's an intense day. September 29th is a 33 day in numerology, which means full power. Saturn, the planet that's been of karma, is going direct. Okay, that's normally a good thing. But Mars is squaring Saturn. Mars in retrograde is squaring Saturn that's going to be direct in Capricorn, and Mars is in Aries. This is a very intense day, and it's the day of the first debate between the candidates. I mean, for
oh,
president.
no.
This is going to be a very
Oh.
intense time. And Mars is the planet of war, and it doesn't back down. And when it's in its retrograde position, it actually focuses. Think of an ADD kid that really focuses, you know, and you go "Rrr," like this. This is intense, a very intense time. So these are the things. So September to remember. Yeah, it's going to be a
Did you see
intense
what Kim
September.
said about the veil? Read this.
Wow.
I love Kim, man. I got flowers, Kim. I wanted you to
know.
see them.
That's why I'm
Kelly
bringing the
keeps
comment
saying
up.
the veil is getting thinner. It must be tissue paper already. That's very funny.
That's very, very funny.
Seriously, Kim, you could probably just reach out and touch.
Oh,
Wow.
Anyway, well, we'll talk more about this on our Thursday show as we just
yes.
head into this time period. Well, let's talk about one of my favorite people in the world is our guest tonight. And Shirley's going to introduce him, but I just wanted to say a few things about our guest. I've known him for 10 years. One of the most brilliant people I know, one of the kindest people I know, and somebody that can say something that makes it easy for other people to understand. You know, when you meet somebody that can take a big philosophical situation and just make it easy to understand, easy to digest. I've never known anybody like our guest,
That
and I
takes
just love him.
skill. That
It's
takes a lot of
skill.
skill.
It
Yeah.
does. It does.
Not
And
easy. Mm-mm.
I've been working, and I have known our guest for, as I said, about 10 years. And his guide, his spirit guide, I know I have worked with also, and he's a powerhouse. So, Shirley, without further ado, I'd love you to introduce Walter.
Let-
Sorry.
Well, on that note, Walter Goodwin is a serial entrepreneur and software executive who worked primarily in the enterprise systems management market focused on predictive analytics. He will explain what that means. His career path has taken him from Silicon Valley to Wall Street and a few places in between and beyond for well over 30 years. During this time, he has successfully applied practical lessons derived from even longer tenure with meditation and various forms of Tibetan Buddhism practice and Western mysticism, who are largely focused on...
And he's going to fill us in. Hey, Walter, welcome.
Walter. Hi,
I thought
Walter.
I didn't get the rest of the bio. That was very
No, it's
clever.
the cliffhanger.
More than enough. More than enough.
Well, my left brain question to you is, how do you go from Silicon Valley and developing predictive analytics to, and of course it's very related, I know that much, but to meditation and Tibetan Buddhism and mysticism, and I'd love to hear about your journey.
Well, since it's just us girls here and John, I'll tell you the truth. If nobody's listening in, to be honest, I wasn't in software, and I met my first Buddhist teacher, and he basically said, you guys all want to run away to an ashram or live in a monastery because it's a pretty abrasive world, as we all experience, getting
Yes.
more abrasive by the minute.
Yeah.
And he said, but that's basically what we did in past lives. And if we had incarnated again in Tibet or India or Japan or China or wherever, that's probably what we'd be doing. But we incarnated in America for a reason, and it was not to run away from being Americans or being Westerners. And the truth is, you guys all like sex, drugs, and rock and roll anyway, even though you put on a good front. So at the end of the day, he basically said, meditation and spiritual practice is a really strong exercise for the mind, but you can do mind strengthening exercises in different ways. So if you're going to sit at home and meditate every morning or all day long, nobody's going to pay you to do that. And we don't have a system in this country where people doing spiritual practice are supported financially just to do their practice and energy work. And this was in the early 80s. So my God, not a whole lot was going on then either.
Yeah.
So he said his premise was basically you could get into software development, which requires you building a pretty strong mind and holding large conceptual kind of practices in your mind. And he said it's very akin to Tibetan visualization exercises, but people will pay you good money to do your mind strengthening exercises. So kicking and screaming, many of us, and I was one of the biggest kickers and screamers. I was like, I really don't want to do business and software and corporate stuff. And I went from kicking and screaming to living and working in Silicon Valley for a while, lived and worked on Wall Street for quite a few years, and then formed my own software enterprises and built and funded and grew and sold a couple of big software businesses. So it really was all kind of related. It wasn't like I was this business guy that decided, oh, I hate that shit, and now I'm going to meditate because I'm burned out. It was kind of everything kind of kept pace, as we went along. So that's how that worked.
That's fascinating. I mean, what an incredible gift that he gave you, because obviously you have the, intelligence to do that, and he helped you.
Yeah,
I
I fought it, like I say, but he turns out he knew what he was talking about, and I'm the lucky beneficiary of his wisdom. And so and it was a very, I don't know, I want to say integrated lifestyle, very Western lifestyle, but in my heart and on my meditation cushion, I was doing my practice, and I was also learning how to get better at having my career and my work and all that is entailed in corporate America being part of my practice, which I wasn't convinced was real or was even possible. But over time, you kind of start to get to the point where you say, this everything is an opportunity for me to engage with my practice, and it's a hard thing to do, but it's hugely effective when you finally kind of intellectually make that leap to say, this is all one. My spiritual practice does not end when I get up off the meditation cushion, and my corporate life kind of doesn't start and end when I punch a time clock. How can I possibly integrate this? And that's been my challenge for many years now, to figure out how to integrate it and to see it. Is there a new Western approach to very ancient Buddhist practices, all of which are designed to elevate your consciousness and your awareness and make you happier? So who would have thought, Wall Street could make you happier, or, running your own very stressful, and Kelly's a lifesaver. She's gotten me through a lot of stressful business situations.
But it was so amazing to work with you all these years because you really were the real deal. You were running a business. I mean, really running a big business, and also had this real practical Buddhist side. And I thought, how in the world are you doing that? And that's really what I really wanted to talk to you about practical mysticism. I mean, you are a Tibetan Buddhist Western mystic. So tell us like for practice, give us some tools so our people can listen to our tools for I don't know, for transformation.
There you go. There's what we're going to try to talk about. I thought about it when you and I kind of chatted back and forth, Kelly, and came up with this topic. And the first thoughts I had were, what kind of mysticism would it be if it weren't practical? So I think it's all practical mysticism, but unless you're maybe your audience is pretty savvy, but people think about mysticism. I don't know if they think about Gandalf, or they think about crystals, or or stirring cauldrons or something, but I don't think of mysticism that way. I think of mysticism as being an approach to strengthening your consciousness and your awareness. And so from that perspective, because your consciousness engenders everything comes out of that, all of your life, all of your thoughts, all of your goals and hopes and aspirations, your personality, so much comes out of that, and the energy that's behind that. So that's practical. I mean, looking at your life and saying, what do I want? And who am I? Over and over again, I've been asking for, my entire life, who am I, and how am I going to uncover more of that? And what are the tools to help me do that and to succeed at the things that I think are important in my life? So it's a very personal thing. Very personal to each one of us, but yet I do believe that there are approaches and tools that we can all use, and then we take each one of those tools and we say, how do I make it mine? How do what is important to me, and what do I want to achieve, and why am I not achieving things that I have set out to achieve? And and I'm tired of certain maybe parts of my personality or my habits, my patterns that I'd like to break out of. Is there anything that I can do to shift things so that I can become closer to who I want to be, or maybe even closer to who I really think I am, but I somehow never quite get there, So that's why I call it practical, that I think, because it's really in the muck, in the trenches of our lives, and you kind of got to be in the muck, you got to be willing to look in the mirror, and you got to be willing to roll your sleeves up, and what you hope is that you've got some tools in your little toolkit, your bat belt, where you can, if you have to scale the side of a building, you reach in and you pull out the hook and off you go, So anyway, that's and my background personally has been, my first teacher called himself a Buddhist, but he was also a very powerful mystic, and was very flashy with a lot of his kind of skills, his esoteric skills, but still thought of himself as a Buddhist and represented that way. But my second teacher was a Tibetan Rinpoche, and was classically trained, very well educated, exceedingly highly educated. So I've been hugely blessed to be able to, and the first guy was American and the second guy was Tibetan. So this convergence of an American mentality with a Tibetan kind of educational background, and both of them saying, you don't get to run off to Bhutan. You got to go back into the trenches in America, and you've got to fight your battles that, I guess maybe Kelly, you would say that your soul has chosen for this incarnation, or you've got contracts that are different than this incarnation you have in other incarnations.
And what happens is your soul will just keep pushing you and pushing you until you get to that place. And for people, can you explain to them the whole Buddhist approach to, I don't know, to practicality? Like, give us some tools to work with for people.
Well, absolutely. I think of Buddhism as being very practical. All of this, I think, is very practical. So I rejected religion about the first time the nuns cracked me on the knuckles in elementary school. So I moved from religion to spirituality to trying to integrate all this into my Western lifestyle. And I think what Buddha said was, if you want your life to get better, think good thoughts. And if you think bad thoughts, your life is going to get worse. And so there's where the esoteric leaps over into the manifestation of our lives. So for Buddhism, I think it's very practical in that everybody's trying to be happier, and everybody's trying to get their lives to work out. So I hate to oversimplify or state something for the record, because there'll be tons of Buddhist scholars that will tell me that's not how it works. But I think the Buddhists would just say that that things start with your consciousness and your mind, and they come back in this ellipse kind of too, right? But so if you want to manifest certain things in your life, you don't attack them directly. Kelly, you and I were talking recently, and I said, what popped into my head was, everybody knows diets don't work. That's kind of attacking your, weight directly in a way that isn't sustainable. But if you take one step back, and you decide, I'm going to eat healthy, and that's all. It's very positive, right? It's not, I'm not going to have ice cream, or I'm not going to have these calories. It's, I'm going to push forward this positive approach, this positive thinking, and this positive energy. And then the natural consequence is going to be a change in weight. But I didn't attack it directly. There were, I call them precursor conditions. So you kind of want to take a step back. And in Buddhism, they talk about it. They call it, everybody knows about karma and cause and effect. And they talk about something they call interdependent origination, which you can Google and you can learn about Tibetan Buddhism. But interdependent origination is basically like cause and effect. It's just that everything is connected. And they use examples like if you want to grow a big, beautiful oak tree for your grandchildren to sit under, long after you're gone, you would plant an acorn because the acorn is the seed that manifests into your consequent result. So the oak tree transforms all by itself based on the seed condition and based on the conditions like sun and water and things like that. So back to transformation, in the Buddhist perspective on transformation, it's like you have to try to seed what you want, which means, first of all, be very clear about what you want, what's not working in your life, what is working in your, or what you want more of in your life. And then try to step it back a little bit and try and say, what naturally leads to those consequences? What are the precursor conditions to that? So Buddha was, pretty simple, and he had a certain approach. And for him, it's what they call sutra, which is just basically kind of do good things and good things will happen. And if you mess up and do bad things, you're going to have to pay the price. But so a lot of Buddhism is about that cause and effect, those precursor conditions, and what is it that you can, how can you manage your energy and your thoughts and your consciousness so that those are all seeds that generate what you want more of. And then of course we all screw up and we all, we have some good things happen, some bad things happen, weird shit comes in from the side like COVID and God knows what else, right? And you're just dodging bullets left and right. But as you're dodging bullets, you're kind of like trying to keep your eye on the goal, and you're constantly saying, am I seeding things the right way? Am my thoughts on track? Are my actions on track to get there? So I've kind of changed it to a goal orientation, but if your goal is transformation, then you want to also think about, well, what are the thoughts and what is the energy and what is the consciousness that I can try and focus on and be clear about to drive towards that goal of me being different or better or more whole or more healed or kinder or more compassionate, all the things that you might want to have, more powerful, more successful, all those things. But you take it a step back and you kind of look at the seed and precursor conditions, and then you try and manage your noodle. Because the Buddhists really believe that thoughts are things, and thoughts is what causes, and thoughts, energy, and in the Buddhist world, intent is huge on what is generated. So two people could say the same thing or have the same behaviors, but if one person's intent was very pure and selfless, then that would generate different conditions than another person who's talking the talk but not walking the walk. And it's your heart and your motivation and your intent that generates what those consequent conditions are. So I think that's not an unfair synopsis of the Buddhist notion of karma and cause and effect and interdependent origination and precursor events. But I would say to anybody that wanted to do the cliff notes and write something down, think about what precedes what you want. Think about what you can kibitz with and tweak and work on so that final result happens. It's like, well, if I want to get a college degree, I guess I better apply to some universities, and then I better attend and I better study. So there's countless examples of processes and events that you have to kind of go through that lead you forward to that change, to that transformation.
Well, Mel is asking a very interesting question. How do you unplant some seeds in your mind?
So, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Well, that's a really good question. I think I've got three little tools that we'll talk about. I'll hint at them. I think what you have to do is in my experience, you have to do a little bit of analysis, and maybe because I'm a software guy, maybe I'm skewed in this direction, but my teacher used to call it, self-discovery or self-analysis, or kind of like you would do an analysis in a work environment. But I think what you have to do is you have to kind of say, well, what is my current behavior that I'm not happy with? And what led to that? So Mel's kind of saying, okay, what I take is that Mel has some sense of what those seeds are. So if you have reverse engineered your way back, and you say, okay, I think I found the source. I think I found what's caused all this, and you get back to the seeds, then this is what I do. What I do is I say, are those seeds me? Are those seeds part of me? Are they inherently me, or were they planted? Who planted them?
Yeah.
Why did they plant them? Was I aware that they were being planted? Do I still want them to produce their consequences for me? So as you meditate and kind of loosen your grasp on those components of your personality, I think you kind of have to, I'm trying to use words that don't trigger, but like you have to be easy with yourself, and you have to be easy with whomever or whatever caused those conditions as well. And you have to do your best to just, I start off all my meditations with just kind of a deep breath and just releasing, and releasing basically with almost this premise that virtually everything is not me. Virtually all of my emotions and all of my thoughts and all of my fears and all of my, frustrations, it's not me. That's just baggage, and that's layers of stuff that has been either layered on by my parents, God bless them, who did the best they could, by my teachers, God bless them, who did the best they could, by society, which is all over the map. I mean, we have so much input. It's just layers and layers of dirt on the windshield. But I think, like what Buddha would say, is that, but the windshield is clear, windshield is pure, and your mind is inherently clear. So if something's troubling you, it's something that it might be hard to let go of, but it's possible. It may take a long time. It may take a lot of work. It may take a lot of looking in the mirror, or a lot of really reflecting on who do I really feel like I am, because that seems like such a big part of me. But I think if you meditate on it and you ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? That becomes a mantra, in some respect. You can start to see those things that trouble me. Well, look, if I say, I don't like that thing, there's a subject and there's an object. Those aren't ever the same. So I am troubled by that. Well, that is not me, because that is troubling me. So who am I, and what are all those things? And those things had seeds. And so what can you do? And again, it's not the easiest process at times, because maybe our family or our colleagues or our spouses or kids, they see us a certain way and they hold us in a certain image, and that image is a consequence of some bad seeds, like, oh, you have such a short temper, and you're like, well, I don't want to have a short temper, but somebody put that seed in me. Like my dad had a short temper, and I learned that's how you deal with life, is you hold it, and then you explode. So I don't want to. So now I have to look back, like I said, deconstruct and go, well, I can see where some of that kind of came from, but look, I'm not my dad, even though he left an imprint on me, and I'm not my anger, I'm not my temper, I'm not my impatience. So is it possible for me to change my view of myself and loosen myself enough such that I could say, I know I've been angry my whole life, but that's not me. And I'm going to do my best to redefine myself. I'm going to do my best to let go of that, because I've kind of clung to that as part of my personality. So we all have our shit.
Well, it's so true. And Terry writes, transformation is difficult work, but it's so worth it. And that's very true, Terry. It is very difficult work. And getting to where the seed comes from and we call it an interject in psychotherapy. I mean, pulling that out, but it's not an easy thing to do, certainly. But I love the step by step to go backwards to.
Go backwards.
And then it changes your consciousness. Your consciousness begins to shift, and that actually makes it easier when you have when your consciousness shifts. And that's just really what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like I was thinking, they say the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, but it may not be the easiest distance because there might be a wall in between. So it doesn't do any good to keep beating your head up against the wall. Take a step back, look at it. And Kelly, you just brought up what's really important is to look at this from an energetic perspective. So there's the deconstruction that goes back to the seeds. But there's also the deconstruction in a moment to moment, our lives. Every moment we've got the thoughts and the energy and the consciousness where we are continuously reseeding our experience. And that's why people have a hard time changing. We all have a hard time changing because not only did our parents imprint us and society continues to imprint us, but we wake up every morning and we think, I'm just not good enough. That much I know to be true. I don't know what else is going on out there, but I know that I'm just not good enough. And so we have to start by finding the roots of those seeds and the roots of those thoughts, and we have to go back to an energetic level, a consciousness level, a level of thought, and we have to say, no, I have to be really cautious because my thoughts are what's creating my personality and my image of myself. And the whole point of this whole talk is transformation. Like, so people are saying, I want to change. If you don't want to change, God bless you. I mean, good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you have one or two little baby things that you want to change, then you kind of got to go, well, it starts with me. Everything is here. Now, somebody might have done some things to me to mess me up. I continue to do things to mess me up, but it really starts here. And I have to take a deep breath, let go some of the layers, just wash, forgive, release is it maybe a better word than forgive, but just release and let it wash away.
Yeah. What I'd like to add to that, though, because it's so important to also validate the emotions that come up as you're going through this process, which I couldn't agree more with what you're talking about. But when something is done to us, particularly as infants and children and stuff, there is anger that shows up, and that gets suppressed a lot of the time. And so then people start to feel, if I love my parent and I understand that they did the best they could, I can't feel angry at them also. And it's so important, and part of that process is to validate how we feel and welcome it and know that it'll pass once we validate it. Because if we try to pretend it's not there or feel bad for it being there, then it's still going to be there. I mean, and emotions are energy, and they stay unless we. So
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
It's an iterative process,
Right.
Like you start to deconstruct and unwind it, and you go back, and you might realize, oh, that son of a bitch, that's the whole problem. That asshole did that to me. So you're angry. That's where you're at that moment. But at least you're more clear,
Right.
At least clear about what's going on. And then it might take you years of going that, and every time you think about that person, you go, that son of a bitch, he fucked me over. But then after a while, you kind of go, yeah, that's true. But I mean, it's not doing me any good now to, like what, I got a little voodoo doll with, a pen, like what, and also look what they had to deal with, look what they were up against that formed them. And so after some time, in my experience, you can kind of go, what good does it do me to hang on to that shit? It pissed me off and it made me angry, and I had to go through that experience and that process. But as I processed it, when I first started, I was sincerely, legitimately angry, and there was a reason for that. And then as I went through it, I sincerely, legitimately let more of it go.
It's in that validation. The neuroscientists have a saying, name it to tame it. So we have this idea in our culture that if we go into it, we're going to feel, I'm going to be an angry person walking around the world forever. And the exact opposite is true. When you go into it and you name it and you're able to say, wow, just like you said, I'm feeling angry about this asshole that did something to me, it starts to dissipate just on its own, because we're able to validate it.
I completely agree, and I do think it's a process, and I think you have to trust yourself too. Like like you have to trust that you can manage the truth and manage the anger, and and then when the anger starts to get maybe too much control over you, you say, well, no, that's not the point. That's not what I wanted. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop looking into this and trying to understand it more. I'm going to meditate on this more, and I'm going to try to go even deeper. But now I'm going to keep one eye on myself because now I know I'm getting a little too worked up over this shit, and I'm a little too angry. But over time, as you process, it changes, and especially if you can manage your reactions in a kind of a healthy way too. You allow the reactions, but you got to kind of remind yourself, I'm not the anger, but I'm not the reaction to the anger. I'm not what the person did to me, but I am not how I am reacting in this moment either.
Right. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because so many of us, mesh the two together, the emotion of anger and the reaction of anger. And they're two very different things. I could be at the store and someone does something and I notice an eruption of anger that's out of this world. I don't have to react to that anger. I can just notice it. And in the noticing alone, it dissipates. And then I can react in the way that I choose to react, which is more of a response than a reaction. But yeah, the two are very separate things. Emotions are very different than our behavior.
And I think that, the more you do it, it's a little scary for me because, I'm a boomer, I'm male, I'm all those bad things, and you kind of learn how to hide and sweep things under the rugs or whatever. And and there were many times in my life where I wasn't sure what I wanted to see, or even if I saw it, if I thought I could manage it or control it. But I think you have to take that chance with yourself, and then you have to be very diligent. You have to be willing to look at yourself and say, okay, I'm going to go there. And I promise you, it's, there's nothing horrible there. It's just that you're scared of your reaction to it, that it might inflame things. And so if you just tell yourself, no, I'm not going to allow that to happen, or I'm just going to count to 10, walk away, whatever. But, for me, at least, that was one of my fears was, maybe it's just better if I ignore a lot of stuff because I don't want to, fan the flames. And what I found over time is that, a little bit of fanning of the flames happens, but the flames are already there. It was already kind of bad enough. So you might as well just go with it, and then look at yourself. Don't judge yourself too harshly, and kind of go, but at least I dove in, man. At least I'm rolling my sleeves up, and I'm wrestling with some stuff, and I'm changing. I'm making some progress, and I'm serious about my growth and my transformation, and that means I'm going to have to wrestle with some stuff. And you just trust yourself, and deep in our core, I think we're trustworthy, and we're powerful, and we're trustworthy, and we don't think that we're either.
No, that's exactly it. And I think that what you're saying is what is taught in my practice in somatic experiencing is, if we're curious, curiosity is the antidote to judgment. So if you approach whatever you're feeling and whatever's coming up with curiosity, then the judgment just isn't there, because it's almost like discovering something new, being curious about, I'm feeling angry right now. I wonder what's happening.
Right.
It completely shifts the dynamic.
It absolutely does. And, I've heard for 40 years that, from the Buddhists, that everyone has Buddha nature. And I could get that answer right on a test, but it didn't make much sense to me until recently, where I kind of went, well, what that means is that the deeper I dig, the better it gets. Because at my core, at all of our core, we are very pure, very clear, and very empowered, and our motivations are good, and just everything's good the deeper you go, and you just have to be willing to wash muck off the windshield and trust that underneath all that there's a windshield.
Walter, we have a question here. Haykon, I don't know if I'm going to say his name right. What is the Tibetan ritual called where you talk with your darkness, your traumas? Or
I
do you know
wonder if
anything
that's
about that?
Tonglen. Well, there's this one where what you do is it's kind of a compassion ritual where you take on other people's suffering and you process it. So you have to be willing to go into those kind of dark spaces, and you do the processing, but you can do that with yourself. You can say, okay, I'm going to take on my dark spaces and I'm going to process that energy. But since you're a Buddha, don't tell anybody, don't tell, your spouses or whatever. But since you've got Buddha consciousness and Buddha nature, you have the strength and the power within you to take on that and process that energy and release it. Now we have to learn kind of how to do that, and we have to learn how not to get some of the dark energy stuck, and we've all had those experiences too. But if you can release and you can just let it wash, and you can just process it with your superior energy and your superior clarity and purity, and just know that your consciousness is clear and pure, then it washes through. So Tonglen is one of the practices. I think that there's others. There's another practice called Chi, which is about kind of deconstructing yourself, so that you're kind of visualizing chopping away your emotions and even chopping away your body, because you know that that's not who you really are. Just like we were saying a few minutes ago, if I'm not my anger, then there's a lot of things I'm not. And if I got in an accident and somehow lost my finger in a work accident, and I was left like this, would you still say, well, Walter still exists? Well, yeah. So what if I lost my hand? So at what point do we get to a point where we say, well, I'm not my arm, I'm not my leg, I'm not one of my kidneys. So as we start to remove things, I'm my consciousness, I'm my energy, which is fundamentally very pure. And that gives me hope, gives me confidence, and gives me optimism that I can take on darkness, and I can take on fear, and I can take on baggage that's been layered on me my whole life. And I can look at that and I can just say, the Hindus say neti neti, which means not that, not that. So you look at it. Am I my fear? No, neti neti. Am I my angry reactions? Neti neti. But as you start to remove, who's left? As it turns out, who's left is remarkable, is amazing. Because where are the boundaries to your energy? Where are the boundaries to your consciousness? Where are the boundaries to your love and your compassion and your ability to feel and to process and to sense and to experience the depths of life? There's
Wow.
boundaries to that. Once you strip away all the things that you say, I'm not my hand, I'm not my arm, I'm not my anger. So it's that release, which is what I think is so lovely about it, because in our world as Westerners, everyone's trying to get the college degree or get the new car, get the promotion, get the bigger house. It's everything that stands between you and happiness is something you have to get, and you grab with all your might, and you wrestle and hold on and hope it doesn't escape. But from a Buddhist and a mystical perspective, it's all about release. That's not me. I am completely full if I let go of my other imposed and self-imposed limitations. As I let go, I see I am energy, and I am consciousness, and I am huge, and I am powerful, and all these things we're afraid to be. And so I think that, well, that's my meandering response to, you know, how can you let go of things, or how can you address seeds which have been planted? You ask yourself every day, what is me? Who am I? What can I let go of to find more of that immensity? You know, I mean, Christ said, the kingdom of God is within you. He didn't say it, take a left in Bethlehem and head down towards Nazareth, you'll find the kingdom of God. He said it's within you. And I think that's the fucking truth. Like, that is the core shit right there.
Yeah.
That you go deep, if you trust to go deep, you find immensity. And you do that by letting go, not by achieving and going after that next goal, but by letting go of the blockages that are between you and who you want to experience, who you want to be. So much of it, letting go.
Wow, what a beautiful reminder.
Justice.
Yeah.
So, John, are you there?
I am, yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were going to discuss Iron Bird Dharma.
Yeah, so this is Walter's website. You guys can go check it out. It's Iron Bird Dharma. So you can see right there, it's spelled out IronBirdDharma.com. And you can check out his website. And he's also have a service tab where he has guide services there.
So,
Yeah,
Walter, will
yeah.
you be able to do, people are asking if you would do a guided meditation. Tell us what you are good. You've got a website up.
Yep.
Are you going to be doing groups? Are you going to be leading groups, or people can contact you to talk to you about whatever it is they want to talk to you about? Or
Yeah, I think kind of all of the above. I mean, I've been, if you go to the website, you can read my silly little bio, but, you know, I've been all caught up in corporate America, but I also have had on and off, I've been teaching meditation and spiritual practices for, my teachers asked me to do that. I've probably been doing that on and off for 30 years. And I've had small groups of people that I've met with here in Colorado where I live. But now in the time of COVID, I guess a silver lining there is that everything is virtual, and you know, so I've been prompted to bring this more out into the open and come out of the closet. So the website is fresh as of like literally yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And if people just there's a contact page there, and if people just send an email or whatever on the contact page, I've mostly been working with people one-on-one, kind of through word of mouth, and that seems to go very well. But I think, you know, it might be a good thing to start doing some podcasts and do some other things where more people can participate, and it just might reach a wider audience, and people can self-select whether it's for them or it's not. And so that's kind of the plan, is to just see who shows up, and see what's the best way for us to engage. And I'm just trying to be flexible and follow the breadcrumbs. That's pretty much it.
I think a lot of people are going to follow you, Walter, because I could listen to you talk all day long. I think I love to hear what you have to say, and especially, you know, we're in this time of COVID now. It's really a time to go inward. So your work is extremely profound right now. It always is, but now almost more than ever, it's needed. Really, this ability to go inward.
Yeah.
Well, I think we all have to take responsibility, you know. I mean, that sounds kind of cliche, but there's so much that's out of our control in the world right now. You know, the virus and all the things that swirl around that. Should you wear a mask or not, and all that stuff. There's so much that seems like, oh God, you know, this, how do I deal with all this crap, you know? But I think, you know, finding your way back to your essence and your practice and the strength that comes from that, you know, and the energy and the power that's inherently there is really important in challenging times. You know, those are the times when you're either going to get steamrolled, I guess, or you're going to kind of find out what you're made of, and you're going to decide whether the challenge is there. There's nothing we can do about that. So the question is, are you up to the challenge or not? And that's a personal thing, but I think most of us want to give it a good shot, you know?
They like that Tantrapreneur, they love that.
Is that true? Yeah, that hit me one day because I was in a bad mood or something. I was like, well, how do I describe what I am? And I've called myself a serial entrepreneur because I have started and sold multiple businesses, and that's like something people put on LinkedIn and stuff. And then when I sold my last business, I was like so fed up with corporate America and with LinkedIn and things like that. I decided I was a tantrapreneur because as we started off this conversation saying, I didn't do corporate America willingly and maybe directly. It was all because somebody, cracked the whip and wagged his finger at me and said, you have to go in this direction. And so for me, and tantra, a lot of people associate tantra with weird, stand on your head and do sex backwards or something, but but tantra is what Padmasambhava taught, what Guru Rinpoche taught, which is just in dark times, this is not the right era to do what, I don't want to say bad things about monks and people that do like more typical standard practice. But when the world is pure and when there's less human aura and there's less toxicity, then you can sit and meditate and be blissful. But in a very toxic world, like the one we're in now, whether it's pollutants or whether it's human aura toxicity, you need to take the energies of the powerful negative energies, and you need to transmute them into powerful positive energies, and that's tantra. And so that's what I tried to do with my businesses too, was how do you transmute the the competitiveness of capitalism in corporate America, and how do you take the kind of the inherent negativity and toxicity there and use that power and use that energy to your spiritual benefit as well as financial, et cetera, et cetera. So well, that's where Tantrapreneur came from.
But that's going to have to be then the topic for another We Need You Back, Walter, because I'm sure that people listening, including myself, would love to know how you transform that, because we are living in such a difficult time right now. How do you do that? What are some tools to help us
Well, I'll tell you what, I know we're about done here, but if you invite me back, one of the things I didn't get to tonight was I have like kind of 3 bullet points that I think are important. The first one is things to do and things to not do, which is usually where most people stop.
Yeah.
Because you figure I'm going to do these things and I'm not going to do these things, I'm done. But no, there's more. Stay tuned. So the second thing is things to let go of and things to allow to wash away. So we're moving from more active to more passive and more subtle. And then the third thing, which is a really difficult thing to talk about, but it's the most impactful thing, is what I call non-doing, which is very challenging, because as soon as you try to do a non-doing, then you're doing a doing. Right. And we've been trained in our society to do everything, to take the bull by the horns. Yeah. And so if you guys want to invite me back and talk about those 3 things, because I definitely have stumbled onto, with Kelly's help too, I want to say, but I've stumbled onto, I think, some interesting practices to allow you to trick yourself into non-doing. And because if you try to do it, you just failed as soon as you tried. Yeah. So you've got to be able to figure out a way to relax into, in today's vernacular, people might call it into like a Zen moment or something like that. But there are ways that I promise you, I won't give a spoiler now, because then if I spoil it, you guys won't invite me back. But I want to be invited back so we can talk about it. But there are a few techniques that I've stumbled onto. Remember my friend that had the brain situation, Kelly, and then you and I talked about him a lot. Through discussing and working with him, I stumbled across these different meditation techniques, which I've come to the conclusion that they're very powerful, because every time people sit down to meditate, they're basically thinking or worrying or planning or organizing or fearing. And then they go, well, I meditated for 20 minutes. Now I got to go to work. But I promise you, there are ways to slip in and around that into some very deep meditative experiences. And I think it's so important for all of us, especially everyone that's tuned in here tonight, that people want that growth, they want that bumping up against that wall constantly.
Oh, absolutely, Walter. We need you back so you can teach people how to non-do without doing.
That's
right?
it.
And is it possible, maybe, Walter, you'd come back and you would also do a guided meditation for everybody, or lead us into a meditation at some point?
If that's something you guys do, I do that with people, and it's very it's been very powerful, very helpful to them. They come back for more. They love it. So I'd be very happy to do that.
Fantastic.
Well, you're a big hit, Walter. You're a big hit.
Oh my gosh, that was wonderful.
Comments.
Yeah, you're getting lots of love and gratitude in the comments there, Walter. So I just want to mention really quick, though, we have Bad Dads coming up. We want to talk about that before we go. So let's talk about that really quick.
We have Bad Dads on October 17th. So if you've had a very challenging relationship, I love this. When father didn't know best. I love that. So Shirley and I are going to be doing the Bad Dads webinar, Zoominar, and it's really going to be about just like we did the Bad Moms, really helping to get you heal a lot of the traumas that went through with your father.
Yeah, and tools on how to do that, how to recognize, validate, and tools on how to heal the wounds. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's going to be on Saturday, October 17th at noon Pacific time.
Yeah.
And you can get the tickets by going to bothsidesnowtv.com and clicking on the banner there, and you can get signed up. That's in 25 days from now. Quickly. Wow.
Gotta go fast.
Yeah.
Please join us.
Yeah.
If you had a bad dad.
Right. So we'll be doing the after show discussion in Zoom right after. So stick around. I'll post the link. Maybe Walter will join us. I mentioned to him, and we'll see. Maybe he'll surprise us. We'll see.
And we will definitely give a new date for Walter for you to come back and give us these tools, because it's just wonderful information.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Walter.
you so much.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yay.
Absolutely. Thank you for honoring us with your wisdom. Yeah. And so easy to understand, completely speaks to my left brain, so I love it.
I knew, Shirley. I saw you watching there. I said,
oh my God.
She's in love.
I mean, get it. Yeah, completely understand, which I love. So thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thanks, everybody. See you Thursday.
Pleasant evening.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now, featuring the unconventional duo Dr. Shirley and Kelly White. Two perspectives, one world.
We are sorry, but the show has ended. Goodbye.
All right, let me get you back.